Hey there YouTube, Mountain Boy here, bringing you today one of my favorite knives. This is the Benchmade Casbah, and saying it's my favorite knife, or one of my favorite knives, is a pretty big thing, and I've really explained here why I like this knife a lot. And to do that, I gotta put my gloves on. The reason I'm putting my gloves on is because where I live, it doesn't snow a huge amount in the winter, but a number of times. I cross-country ski, I get out, I hike a lot in the winter, and this is a knife that I can use with my gloves on. I can operate the controls like the lock, I can close it, and it has very good texture all the way around. You can see here on the scales, the jimping on the, I don't know if this is like a finger choil, and then jimping on the top. So it's just a very solid knife in hand. Super positive, and it feels great. So that's why this has become kind of my wintertime EDC. In fact, maybe that's what I'll name the video. Let's talk stats on it real quick. This blue has been discontinued. You might still be able to find it in a few stores. I got this about maybe 2 years ago, but they do have it in black, and that's readily available. The MSRP on it is $230, so not the most expensive knife out there, and the street price of typically about $200 to $210. 7.8 inches long, 3.4 inch drop point blade. The steel is CPM S30V. The overall weight of it is about 3.43 ounces. I will have to say it is pretty much a right-hander's knife. All the controls are set up for your thumb, for your right hand. One thing I will say that's really nice is the lock on it is for both when the blade is open and when the blade is closed, so it won't open in your pocket. I think that's a really nice feature, especially if you're using it in kind of an aggressive manner, like carving wood or doing things where you just want that extra measure of certainty that this isn't going to close on you. So philosophy of use, I mentioned before, this is kind of my wintertime EDC. And because I like to cross-country ski and I hike a lot, I want something that my various outdoor pants, be it like my ski pants or my hiking pants, this is going to go in and it's not going to come out. This high texture on the scale in conjunction with this really long, and you can hear the snap there, pocket clip, really makes this a safe knife to keep in my pocket. It's not going to come sliding out as if it had aluminum scales or G10 handle. The other thing too is with the S30V steel of the blade, that's just a great EDC material. It's fairly rust resistant. It holds an edge for a long time. I'm not putting this through super great abuse in terms of construction or things like that. But, and it'll be interesting to see, I haven't sharpened this knife in probably a year or 2 years, or actually ever, and it still has a great edge on it. In terms of its weight compared to other knives out there, and I'll kind of just compare this. This is my Benchmade CLA, which is pretty much the exact same battery of arms. It's pretty much the exact same blade. This actually weighs in with the G10 handles at 3.47 ounces versus 3.43 ounces. And I'll also kind of bring in another favorite of mine. This is a SOG Flash AT, and this weighs a whole ounce more at 4.49 ounces. This isn't even automatic. Yeah, this is an assist, but this outweighs this by over an ounce. The other thing I really like about this knife is the fact that the handle on this is just great. It's just so well done. It's not too much, it's not too little. It's kind of like the Goldilocks, right? I kind of think the Benchmade claymore is like Papa Bear. The Benchmade CLA is like Baby Bear, and this is like Mama Bear. It fills the hand well. It's 0.6 inches wide versus half an inch, 0.5 inches wide. It's got this great texture on these Grivory scales that are on both sides. It's got great jimping all the way around. There's jimping on the scales, there's jimping on the finger choil, and then there's like metal jimping here on top. And so even with gloves, it just sets really well in the hand. The other thing I'll kind of bring up too, and I have to admit, I bought this first and loved the knife so much that I later discovered the CLA. And this year in particular, CLA is blowing up. You can get this in carbon fiber and G10 and aluminum and, like Magna Cut. This is the knife that I think, there's more of a market for, people love. But if you love this knife, you got to get this knife as your workhorse, like go out to the woods. And the reason why is it's got the same battery of arms. I've already pointed out a lot of the basic specifications of this knife, and we've kind of talked about its philosophy of use. And let me just point out a couple things just that makes this kind of a really neat knife for its size. First of all, this does not have full steel liners, kind of like the SOG does. That's why the SOG is a full ounce more, is because it's steel from tip to stern. With this, it's kind of a unique system where it's kind of like having a stick point tang would be the equivalent. There is a liner. It only runs on one side, and it's like a triangle that runs back. That is done in conjunction. As you can see here, the handle on this is kind of a box construction. So the result is it's very stiff, right? There's no play in this whatsoever. So this is like a super resilient knife. Kind of lets it come in, be a fairly light knife, but it feels like a much heavier and much more solid knife. And then on top of that, they just kind of gone overboard with all the jimping. I mean, you can see here, 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 here. There's just jimping all over this thing. Plus then this texturing on the scales. This knife is not coming out of your hand. And again, in winter conditions with gloves, and especially if your hands are wet or numb, it's like, this is just a great knife. Now you might say, well, what the hell do you do with it? Well, it's amazing. Once you have it, all sorts of things. My favorite use this weekend was my cross-country skis. The bindings froze up, and I had to kind of reach in and basically pull that little ice out. Later, I'm carving an apple and cheese. Okay, well, that's probably more than you ever wanted to know about the Casbah. And if you like this video, go ahead and hit subscribe, comment, and hit the like button, please. I certainly appreciate it. Thank you very much.